Hello everybody and welcome back to another Hollie's Hot Takes. As you can see, Hollie has only gone and Gareth bailed on us again. That's twice in 3 weeks, Hollie. Not that anybody is counting or anything like that. But yeah, it is great to be back hosting another show. I've gone big again in the transfer market. Hollie has given me a big extra kitty. She's obviously spoken to Mr. Levy and got us some really, really good funds in. So I've pulled in my dad once again. Dad, how are you?
I'm all right. Yep, I'm great.
Wicked. And we have gone extra big in the transfer market. The big deadline day signing, we've got Connor. Connor, it's been a while, but how are you, my man?
Big deadline day. I think I'm more of a free agent, to be honest. Yeah, I'm right. I'm good. Bar the weekend, I'm still feeling the Ange vibes. I'm still feeling positive. So yeah, I'm all right.
Yeah, no, I think you are speaking for the majority of the fan base as well when you say that we are, feeling the Ange vibes. And obviously, big up to everybody who is joining us tonight. I'm sorry, Chris, but big up Hollie and everyone in the chat. But Gareth bailed on us, mate. So yeah. She's not here. So yeah, right, Connor. Let's get into it, shall we? Obviously, Wolves from the weekend. Talk to me. What happened?
It's the same story, isn't it? It's like we feel like we're going forwards, and then it's the same mistakes. Like, I mean, let's face it, we were in an unprecedented situation with all the players we lost in that insane Chelsea game. But when it comes to these mistakes at the end, us bottling it, us doing a Spursy, it's the same players you've got in there. And I don't want to name names, but I'm going to name names. Dyer, Davis, Højbjerg, is guilty as well. I feel bad for Emerson because he's not a left back, but we're playing him at left back because that's where our level of depth is. And I mean, you look at the game and you can't say that Wolves didn't deserve something. Like, Wolves were by far the better team, but it's just the way we've lost. If we didn't lose in that way, it wouldn't hurt as much as it does. The fact that I think we've broken a record now as well, haven't we? For a team that was leading the longest in a Premier League game to then go and lose that. That's what I'm saying. That is like the whole Spursy thing. That's us. We thought we'd knocked it on the head. But I mean, listen, I'm gutted. You've got to credit Wolves for the first goal, which was fantastic sort of technique, even though Dyer and Højbjerg are culprits for that. And then the second goal, it's Emerson's side. But no, listen, I'm gutted, but it is what it is. Wolves is not an easy place to go. City went there earlier this season and lost. I think a lot of people are sleeping on what O'Neill's doing, and that's not an excuse for what's happened. But I think we've just got to move on with it. We've got to know that the next game against Villa is massive and carry that forwards.
Yeah, I fully understand where you're coming from, I think. And Dad, do you share the same view or opinion as Connor, or have you got something different?
Yes, I do. It's very disappointing. It was like a team from sort of last season where there wasn't any sort of character, a bit of oomph about, we go and score first very early on. You think, here we go, we're going to build on it. And then it was just like a Conte side where we sat back, didn't create anything. Disappointed. Very, very disappointed. I thought we'd turn the corner back. However, this is Tottenham Hotspur we're talking about. And, and it shows, like Connor said, our strength in depth. If I know it's a bit freakish the way we've got injuries to the back four and our most creative player. However, I thought Lo Celso coming in could have stepped up a little bit, or when he come on, it was all a bit disappointed. And I think personally the best team won on the day, and it just hurts you to say it, doesn't it, really? But we move on, and let's hope some of these injuries ain't as long term as I've been reading. Really,
Yeah, and I think the thing for me coming out of the game was the fact that it wasn't an Ange Tottenham team, if that makes sense. Like, it's not something that we've been used to. I think obviously even against Chelsea, it looked like there was still, the Ange imprint on the team, even though we had, no one on the pitch left by the end of the game. But yeah, I think the Wolves one was like, you both said there. I think it was very much a case of, get 1-0 up and just kind of sit back and try and hold out. And I don't think that is what Ange would have wanted particularly coming out of the game. I don't know actually about Dyer and Davis, Connor, because I've seen a lot of people on Twitter that did all right. So yeah, I think obviously if you look at the 2 goals in isolation, yes, the first one, Dyer's massively out of position, and then Højbjerg's trying to make up for it. Take nothing away from the finish, just an absolute worldie from Sarabia. I don't think he's ever going to score one like that again in his life. And then the last one, it's very much a case of Dyer not tracking the runner. But I think that sums up his Tottenham career, so to speak, because if you look at loads of goals that we've conceded, especially when he's been at the back or in midfield, a lot of goal scorers have actually run off the back of him. So that was the concern, I think, for me. But I think also, Connor, I don't know how you feel about this. It was almost the lack of, not creativity, but the lack of chances that we created as well, I think, was a big thing to come out of it. So is it a case of purely we just missed man like Madders in there, or was there potentially something else from that particular game?
It's interesting you say that. I think it's easy for us to sit here and say missing Maddison is the answer, but the way I see it is, looking from an overall perspective, we had more fight in that Chelsea game with 9 men than we did across 90 minutes in my eyes against Wolves with 11 men. So that is where you've got to really question. Okay, yes, Maddison would have helped greatly, but why have we gone a goal up away at Wolves and then just sat back on it? And I know I don't want to dig the players out, because I think up to the goals they did a job. That I'm not here to dig them out for that, but I think you've got to question I mean, even I don't want to dig Sonny out, but Sonny was non-existent as well. Like, it's a sort of game where you'd want a captain to take the game by the scruff of the neck, and I know there was no creativity around him, but no one really stepped up. And that's where the issue is. If you're missing someone like Maddison, and again, it goes back to depth, and like you say as well, like your dad said, and I mean, with Lo Celso, we've all said, it's great we've kept Lo Celso. He's going to be the sort of player that steps in for Maddison, but he's not. Like, Ange clearly doesn't rate him. He's not starting his games. So then that's when we got to evaluate completely and say, well, where do we go from here? What's the plan going forward of when we are missing a Maddison or something like that? And it's, the team has to take responsibility, but not having Maddison, of course, plays a part, because listen, he's been pivotal. Him and Van der Ven, I'd say, were the 2 biggest players of that team that's been doing so well up to the Chelsea game.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. And Daddy, you have the same opinion as well?
Yeah. I mean, the Chelsea game was a freakish sort of game, and like you said, Connor, man for man, my goodness, did they put in a shift? Did we have a little bit of a hangover from the Wolves? I mean, it weren't like it was 3 days later. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I just disappointed Wolves. I thought we'd get 3 points, bang. Do you know what I mean? But it didn't happen, and I think that's the more disappointing thing for me. The other thing is that Connor touched on was Lo Celso. I seriously think when we got him, I thought, good player. Seen him play for Argentina. You're looking at this boy, you're going, wow, what a player this boy is. We got him. We can't get a tune out of him. I don't know I don't know if is he not happy in London? Is he not happy in England? But I just wish he'd sort himself out, really, because I think there's a player there, and you don't want players like that to go wasted, really.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think before we move on, Dad, you are getting a lot of love in the comments section, have to say.
It don't surprise me. Good-looking fella like me.
So, yeah, loads and loads of people sharing their love for you. So, all good on that front. Connor, with the way the game went on Saturday, if you could pinpoint somebody to be a man of the match, who would you? Because I've had this debate with a few other fans as well, and they've been trying to pull out players and different types of players. But yeah, it was just an interesting thing, I think. So I wanted to just get your thoughts on it.
That is a really hard question. I'm going to go from two sides of the spectrum here. I'm going to say it's very hard to choose, but I'm going to go Johnson for when he played because he took his chance, and I felt like every time he was on the ball, he wanted to do something. Or I'm going to say Porro, who I know we collapsed at the end, but I thought he did a job. I feel like obviously his game is stronger going forward, but I feel like defensively up until the 2 goals, he was solid, he was sound, he was everywhere on the pitch, so it's between them two. I'm going to go with Johnson because he took his chance, and I feel like there is a really special player there, and I'm hoping that in future he's going to be the player who's going to hopefully be the sort of player who can take the game by the scruff of the neck. But I mean, I'd like to sit here and say someone like Basuma, but Basuma, from my perspective, wasn't great. I think now he's got himself suspended again as well. So it's like, do you know what I mean? It's hard to pinpoint anyone. I'll tell you what, no, Sarr was okay, but it's hard to sit here and really credit anyone because it just wasn't a great performance. But
yeah, are you struggling to think of one, Dad? I know you was on Saturday because I know obviously we watched the game.
Yeah, I weren't happy.
Together.
Let's leave it at that. So I'll go with I thought our keeper played well. I think
the Coro's a great shout.
Yeah, he made a couple of good saves and kept us in it early on. And I wouldn't say he's man of match, but it's just nice to see Bentancur come on.
Yeah,
I think he's a special player.
Yeah.
And I just hope he can get back to them heights before he had that injury. But it's hard to pick a player man of the match. I'll just go with Vic, I think.
Big Vic.
Yeah, Big Vic.
Yeah, interesting. I think for me, man of the match, again, really, really tricky one because I don't think many players, you could argue, for a lot of the game really put a foot wrong. It was just 2 times, I guess, where we switched off in important moments when we've been punished, and that's what the Premier League can do to you. But I don't think anybody was above, say, a sort of 6.5. But I don't think anybody was really below that either. It was just, like you say, Connor, just one of those games where nobody really stood out, but then at the same time nobody was absolutely abysmal either. So yeah, I think it was just one of those games where it was just like, do you know what, it's happened now, let's forget about it. And I think the international break though has come at a good time for us. There's news obviously about Big Mick. He might only be out for a couple of weeks depending on the nature of the hamstring tear. There's rumours that it could be a grade 2, which is only a couple of weeks, or a grade 3, which is up to 2 months, I believe. So I think there's, myself included, when I'm seeing it all on Twitter, I'm like, just get him fit. Yeah. Because the thought of us potentially kind of going to the Etihad without Romero and Van de Ven means it could be a very long afternoon.
Oh, it will be, but as I say, when I'm saying about the same mistakes, and I'm saying Dyer and Davis, like genuinely up till the goals, I thought they did a job. I thought they were okay. They weren't. They didn't fill me with comfort like a Romero and Van de Ven pairing would, but we were at that point in the game and we're thinking we could have actually got something there. So I don't think it's going to be a disaster, but I don't know. The thing is, right, we have such a good record against City, and I know the record against City really is at home. Away from home, the recent years not so much, but I don't know. We're going to go at them if we're going to play with Ange's system. We're going to go at them, and City aren't great when teams go at them. So it could well be a case of we score 5, you score 4, we score 5. That sort of game. Do you know what I mean? So I don't want to think about the defensive side of things. I want to hope that we're going to outscore City and go from there. But it's going to be a challenge. It is really going to be a challenge. I'm not counting down the days for it. Let's say that.
Well, at least you're not going like us two.
You'll make all the noise. You'll make all the noise.
But then, as I don't want to disregard the Villa game because I think, as you mentioned earlier, Connor, that is going to be a big one. The only thing for me is that it's actually at home. Villa's away record is a bit mixed. If it was at Villa Park, I'd be slightly worried. Obviously, for them at the minute, you know, Villa Park is that fortress. I think it's 13 straight wins now for Villa at home, and obviously they're really turning, like I say, Villa Park into that fortress. But Connor, as it is a fan show, we have a very special guest. This man should be up for Prime Minister duties. Let's get him on. Kyle, the main man, is back. How are you, dude?
I'm good, man. Just still disappointed from the last two games, but the only one that can played his head to the badge was Vicario. Like, I've never seen a performance like that from him against Chelsea. Like, don't know how we changed. And yeah, Cole Palmer Modric didn't get sent off, like, lucky. But yeah, shouldn't be sent off those two. Vicario nearly got injured, and if you watch the game, he almost got injured by Modric. So I don't know how he didn't get sent off, like a Ukrainian kid, but yeah, should have been gone off. The same with Reece James. Watch the game back, no, and the VAR didn't get involved. Like, seriously, what is going on? Like, yeah, Stone's goal should have stood, and Dyer's goal should have stood. Like, came off Thiago Silva, not Bentancur. So, yeah, it should have been 4-3. Then we only lost by 1, but we lost by 3 goals. Lucky, but they've now scored 9 goals at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Chelsea, 9 goals in the last 4 visits. We couldn't score a single goal past them until last season it finally ended. I said on the Tottenham TV we was going to slap them at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and that was under Graham Potter, who beat us once. That was the Brighton show. But yeah, they got lucky at our new ground. But come Stamford Bridge in the new year, we're going to slap them up there. And then Wolves, not great. I don't know what was going on, but yeah, Vicario looked fuming. I know he was. I watched it, but yeah, 2 games. This is the same happened under Conte. We lost 2 home games to Southampton and Wolves. Like, now we've lost home and away. But Villa coming up home, they've only beaten us twice. And they've got the ex-Guna manager who we can't seem to beat. But Big Andy's in town and he's going to lose, finally. You're not Emery, lucky, but yeah, we beat him in a Carabao Cup. That was with Arsenal. That was almost 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, it's still unbeaten in the Premier League. But that's coming to an end. And yeah, we're going to win. Son Masterclass and Kulu as well. We like Villa's a tough game, but home we always seem to do well. And Villa Park is actually good because we've won there 2 times when we when there was no fans. There was the pandemic. We won 2-0, and then we failed returns and we had the fans back, but we lose 2-1. They lost it on goal from Regulon and Bergwijn put to the head, and then we lose 2-1 at home. But seriously, what's going on? Villa seem to fear us at our ground, but that's not happening this time. It's not going to happen, sunshine. Storm's going to score, and I've still got my FPL team, so I need points. And I've got no defenders now because Romero, Van der Ven are not going to play, but Romero's missing Villa and Man City, so he's just missed Wolves. So don't know how he got sent off. He didn't even get Enzo Fernandez. He got the ball first, so watch the game, people, watch the replay, and it was not a red. So yeah, Michael Oliver, I don't like him, and what I don't like VAR, just scrap it. If we'd have beaten Chelsea, we would have been 3 points or 5 points clear. We would have still been unbeaten. They had to be taught lucky, and Villa's going to be tough, as I said. But we're not losing there because it can't happen 2 seasons in a row losing at home to them because they've got Watkins and Martinez, goalkeeper, Argentina. Like, if we can see the penalty, Vicario nearly saved. Cole Palmer, but he got a bit of a handle it, didn't save. So yeah, if we can save again, then he definitely will save it. And it's gonna be tough, but we're still gonna beat Villa. I'm not confident because yeah, as that, but I hope we win, and then I think we play Super Sunday before or after Liverpool Man City. So, but City still have a chance to stay top because they're at home, and you can't have two games on the same day. That's a bit of a shock. But with, I hope we can beat Villa and end on Emery's winning streak against us because I don't like him and lucky. But yeah, we're going to beat Villa and then we've got City away. As I said to everyone, Kulu always seems to score against City, but Son does. But yeah, Kulu, masterclass, Son, and yeah, two games and then we got West Ham, which still need to do a membership because I'm think I'm definitely going to the game. So whoever's going, I'll see you all there. And but we can't lose about 4 or 5 games because this ain't gonna happen. I hope not. Bring on Villa, City, West Ham, and Newcastle. Then hopefully we can get back to winning ways, starting off after international break. And then hopefully that can kickstart the season because we still doing well, but only lost 2. But that's just the warm-up game. But bring on them games, and hopefully we can then go into January because I hear Van der Vaan's not actually pulled down. I think just something like great or something I heard. But yeah, he's not come back to Villa. I heard he definitely might, but not going to. But New Year, he will definitely return because he's been probably the best centre back, and Madders has been the best centre attacking middle centre mid wherever he plays. He can play anywhere. And yeah, people been doing their team in the season so far, and they put Vicaria, but Rory Jennings blood. That shit get banned. The season's not over, mate. Where were you in the league, mate? You got lucky, but you can't beat City. So enjoy where you are, because you're not going to win, and you ain't getting top 400 pots. So enjoy where you are, because our season's not over. So big up to Expressions. And yeah, bring on Villa. Hopefully we can get the 3 points, and that'll hopefully beat City as well, because we beat City under Conte when we had Kane, Kulu and Son, because I watched the highlights, and yeah, the City players are still moaning about Kulu not being offside when he wasn't. So it was not offside because they put their hands up saying he was. But if you look at the game, Kane, the Son, the Kulu, front three combining, and Kane masterclass. I know he's not here anymore. So we're looking for Son masterclass people. So Villa first and then away at City. I call it the empty hat, because that's what people call it. Not empty hat, empty hat.
Yes.
We've got City's number. We're the bogey team. So, but they can't score the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium because Pep said that's their next challenge. Well, it's not happening, mate. You can't seem to score there. Every time you come, you get battered. You've not scored a single goal, mate. So enjoy what it lost, but please beat Liverpool. But when we come, there's going to be trouble coming your way. Kulu and Son. I did say Bentancur was going to score the winner at home to Chelsea, but that didn't happen. But he will definitely at City. So anyway, people, I'm off because yeah, I'm still playing the news game, but I'll hopefully see you at the West Ham game. And as always, come on, you Spurs. Big Andrew Trust.
Come on, you Spurs. Nice to
Lovely
see you,
Spurs.
Kyle.
Lovely, Carl. Brilliant. Cheered me up, Carl.
Take care.
See you, mate.
What a man.
What a man.
What a
a man. Honestly, that guy.
So, Connor, just before we move on, I think obviously Kyle made quite a few points, but the main one that sort of come out from me was more around surrounding squad depth. I am of the opinion that our squad depth actually isn't as bad as people make out. However, it's not there to deal with, or it's not that equipped to deal with the amount of players that we've got out at any one time. So I think we've got good depth in certain areas of the pitch, just not in all areas. But like I say, to have the amount of players that we do have out, on top of then, you know, that's just the injuries, and then you get your doggy and Romero, who just wanted to butcher Chelsea. I mean, fair play to them because it's Chelsea, but you know, it's obviously cost us a little bit. Are you of the opinion that our squad depth isn't as bad as people make out, or is it on the floor like most people decide?
It's not on the floor. I mean, anyone saying it's on the floor is kidding themselves. We've got depth in certain areas, like you say, spot on. I think on the wings, we're fine. And I know a lot of people are very critical of players like Hill. For me, I think Hill still has a chance in this team. Some people speculate that he's the sort of player Ange would like. I do think that we are at a make or break situation with someone like Lo Celso, because, you know, you want competition in that team. So if Maddison's not playing well, you want to bring someone in, or if he's injured, you want to bring someone in to do that job. I'm not sure Lo Celso is that person. If Ange isn't playing him, we need someone there for that. Left back wise, listen, I feel so awful for Sessegnon. Like, a lot of people still forget that he is on our books. Feel awful for him. But, like, the left side, we are really struggling. Like, Perisic is out for the whole season. Adoji likes a yellow, so he's probably going to miss a couple more games this season, let's be honest. So we've got, like I say, we've got depth in the centre of midfield. Listen, I love my boy Skippy. A lot of people don't rate Skippy. I like Skippy's work ethic, and I feel like in the centre of midfield, we're okay. We got Bentancur, who's obviously been playing a little bit more. I just think we need another left back. We said all summer we need another centre back, and we never got it. Well, we got Phillips, but Phillips isn't ready for the first team, which is fine. But then that's not another centre back for the first team, so we can't tell ourselves that's another centre back. Need another left back, and then I've got faith in Richie. I don't care about this little striker debate that people have got going. I still got faith in Richie. People can say what they want. Like, people can say, "Oh, we want Tony, we want this gift Orban who had one good season at Ghent and now he's non-existent," or Genk, now he's non-existent. Do you know what I mean? Like, so for me, we are fine by maybe 2 or 3 players, but the issue is I want us to spend the money and get those right players. I don't want us to get ones that are you know, you need to bed them in. If we're going to be the team that's up there fighting for Europe, fighting for titles, you know, let's dream. We need that depth. We need that, you know, we need those players that are going to compete, and we haven't got that yet. And another thing, you know, I love that Ange has the sort of the balls to take Sonny off. I've always said any manager who has the balls to take Sonny off is a manager who knows what this team needs. But then we need more indication of a different style we're going to play with when Sonny comes off the pitch. You know, so it's, yeah. But listen, I've got faith in Richie. So people can keep saying about us needing a striker. I think we can live that out for now. Sonny's very good in that role, and we just go from there. But a left back, a centre back, and a creative midfielder would be like the best Christmas ever. It's not going to happen, but it would be lovely.
Nice. The only reason I say that is because Dave has put here that Spurs' squad depth is as deep as a children's play pool. Dad, are you
how deep the play pool is. If it's like failing all regulations, then.
But Dad, are you of the same opinion as Dave there, or have you got something else with regards to our squad depth?
Personally, I would like January. I don't think it's going to happen, but to bring some quality in. You know we need a centre half. Bring a quality centre half in. That would give us, you know, Romero, Van der Ven, and another quality. Someone, you know, a couple of. I think the left back, obviously, but you can get these guys now. You know, they play centre back, they play left back. You know, cut the oranges up at half time. You know, they do multiple things. I think we need some, you know, someone like that, and I'd like to see a striker come in, a lively, you know, on his toes striker, because there's been a couple of times when the balls come across the box. There's a certain man that now plays in Germany. That's a goal for him.
Don't say his name.
Yeah, you you get these guys. They got that sense, and that's why they play up top. They have this sixth sense. Just a little tapping. It's a bread and butter for them. You know, and I see these balls flashing across the area with Ange, with his wide guys. You know, so I'd like to see someone who can get on his toes, edit, quick, be ideal. And I think you know what? I'd like to see a central midfield player with a bit of oomph about him. You know, bit of character about him. I don't think they're made anymore. But there must be someone out there. There must be someone that Hackney Marsh is playing on that's got a little bit of oomph about him. So yeah, I'd like to see someone like that.
But again, Dave makes a good point in the chat here where he says that thank God the midwinter break in January might save our skins again. It's just that little recovery time for some of the players. Again, that could really help us, especially with the likes of Madders and potentially Van der Ven in particular. For me, I think the Van der Ven injury is more of a worry than the Romero red card, and I think that was more evident. I think on Saturday against Wolves, you look at times that they did get him behind. It was quite often, whereas if Mickey's there, it's not really happening. But yeah, I think I'm of the same opinion as you guys. I think maybe a centre half would be nice, although I do have a lot of faith in Ash Phillips. That's probably because I keep signing him. I used to sign him a lot on Football Manager, so that's probably. So I know he'll come good eventually, but are we that club now that's really looking at? I think we had obviously him and Alfie Dorrington on the bench, and you're there like, well, if Davis or Dyer pulls up, you're relying on an 18-year-old to try and get you through a Premier League game, and not many clubs, especially within that perceived big six, that would do that. So I definitely think a centre half is needed. A left back potentially, although I still think there's a role for Davis in this team as well. I'm not one, and I think Dave's going to back me up on this a little bit as well, where we're saying about Ivan Toney. I don't think Ivan Toney suits Tottenham. He doesn't play. I don't think he would suit the way that we play. As good as a decent striker that he is, I just don't think he suits us. So, and I was actually having this conversation with you and I've said this to you a few times, haven't I? That I actually think Mr. Lukaku wouldn't be a bad shout for Spurs, just because I think, right, I know he's got the first touch of an absolute donkey, but in terms of that back to goal, hold up play, not bad, and I think it would bring others into play. And then actually, if we want to try and get him in behind, he is quite quick and can go in behind. I think we've seen that certainly in his younger days, especially at Everton, the amount of goals he scored where he was sort of running in behind. I think the United move killed him. And he got massively overweight, and then went to Italy, started firing again. Again, there was quite a few goals there with him running onto things or running in behind. And then again, going to Chelsea, it didn't really work out because they didn't really. I don't think Tuchel actually wanted him. It was a play that he got given, and it was like, right, try and get the best out of him whilst he's here. We've spent about 100 million on him, so off you pop. And then before you know it, he's bombed out again. So. But yeah, I actually think someone like Romelu Lukaku wouldn't be a bad shout. He's obviously not going to come because he's a Chelsea player and Chelsea hate us and we hate them. So
it's a different shout. I like how different it is. For me, he bad mouths clubs that he's been at. That's what does it. Like, he was absolutely fine when he was at Italy, when he went to Italy and everything with Inter. Then he's gone behind Inter's back to try and join Juve. And he's gone, oh no, like Inter. And then they're like, no, like, but when he was at Chelsea, he was bad mouthing Chelsea, saying he wants to go back to Inter. So attitude wise, or the way he handles himself in the media and says certain things, no. But I side with you on that. I think someone who is as commanding up top with him as he is would be a good shout. But again, it's affordability. It's if someone like him, if he wasn't at Roma, and I know he's got the past with Chelsea, weirder things have happened, and believe me, Chelsea fans don't really like him anyway, so it could be one of those things. But that would be probably one of the more affordable options, to be honest, because it would probably be a loan deal. It wouldn't be like we wouldn't be signing him permanently. But again, it's a tough one. But Toney is not affordable. Everyone says Toney all the time. They're looking at like 100 million, aren't they? Like, he's not affordable anyway. Whether he fits the system, it's not going to happen. We're not going to spend that money. So
yeah, especially I think on someone of that age as well, because I think people actually forget that he is roughly 28. Yeah. So you spend 100 million on a 28-year-old who hasn't really set the league alight since he came in. He's done well, don't get me wrong, but it's not one of those where you go, we need him like in the door right now. So I think, and I don't think Levy's going to spend 100 million on a
If
28-year-old.
you've got 100 million to spend on a striker, go and get Kane back. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's all I want.
Literally. And Connie, I think you may have just teed us up nicely, because we've got a real treat for everybody tonight. So we're now going to leave the Wolves stuff, leave January transfer window, and we are now going to go through our top 10 Spurs players of all time. And I'm going to start with you, Dad, because the number 10 is synonymous with you, as I know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to start with you, and your 10th. We're going to go reverse order, so 10 to 1. So give us your 10th best player for the mighty Spurs of all time, and give us a reason why.
Right, okay. So, believe it or not, I've got a couple of defenders in here. Considering I like a trick, a flick, and a crazy free kick, as it says on their montage at Tottenham. So I don't know where these guys have got it, but they had a little bit about them. All of them have got a little bit about them. So my number 10 is going to be Terry Naylor. Loved to tackle at hip high. He was working in Billingsgate Market 1 minute, and then all of a sudden he's in Spurs reserves, and I think 6 months later he's in the first team. He was just, the crowd loved him, and he was just one of them players you could not like. You had to love him. I believe all his family are Arsenal. He was the only Spurs fan in there. And I remember, I shouldn't really say it, but I remember it all kicking off at Highbury. We'd just gone off 1-0, and Terry Naylor come running up to us and going, chin him. So he was, you know, he was a good player as well. He had plenty of character in him. He was a good player. So he's my number 10.
Perfect.
My number 9 is Steve Archibald.
Whoa.
I'm sorry,
We're going to go round and do everything.
I'm sorry.
Tell me it, Dad.
I wish you'd say it out.
Right,
I was on this one.
Connor, number 10. Who's your 10th player
Oh, right.
of all time?
Just to clarify, before we get into this is players that I have watched. There are players.
Yeah,
me and all.
Yeah, my dad's ancient. That's why he's got his dog bits in there.
So my number 10 is Robbie Keane.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For that reason, I think I loved Robbie. For me, I actually think the first Spurs game I went to, he scored that day. It was 2-1 versus Brighton in the FA Cup. He was just like, I mean, not only was the celebration iconic, he was just iconic. And I was heartbroken when he went to Liverpool. Like, I was like, I can't believe this has happened. Like, it was. But then it was hilarious when he came back 6 months later. It was like, we got it for like half the price as well. And I was like, I can't believe it. Like, it's just insane. But like, I mean, he was synonymous with so many different Spurs teams. And, you know, with Defoe, like, the relationship he had with him, like, I just loved him. And he, for me, is Spurs through and through. And I think a lot of the Irish contingent fans probably follow Spurs through him, or, you know, Stephen Parr. We've had quite a few over the years, so yeah, he's special. I loved Robbie Keane, and maybe a bit higher, but no, I think on ability, on everything else, he gets my number 10.
Perfect.
Great
and before
job.
I mention my number 10, congratulations to Anthony, 20 months of membership. So congratulations for
well
that.
done, Anthony.
And he was also bigging up your points as well about a striker as well, Dad. Number 10 on my list is arguably our best ever centre half, and he only had one knee. Ledley King. Ledley King is in at number 10.
What a player.
Listen, the guy never trained. He would train for, especially under Harry, it was 5 minutes on a Friday. And Harry asking him if he was fit and if the knee was all right, and he'd go, yeah, and he would still be man of the match on the Saturday. I was actually out in America when we played the MLS All-Stars, and there was a fan event with Brad Friedel, and I think one of the questions was about Ledley, and the sort of the younger players know about him at the time, and Friedel went, listen, they know, and let me tell you, this guy didn't train and he would still be man of the match. Really, really sad the way it ended for him. And listen, he's Mr. Tottenham, I think, you know, for me, you know, he epitomises sort of everything about the club. In a very, very good way, and yeah, I couldn't not have Ledley in my top 10. That is for sure. Con, I'm going to come back to you for your number 9. Who's in at number 9 for you?
Okay, this is controversial. This one is a bit like everyone's going to go, what? This guy is actually still at Tottenham, and his name is Hugo Lloris.
Hugo, okay.
I'm going with Hugo Lloris because for me, from my perspective, from ever since I've watched Spurs, there's never been a goalkeeper who has been as commanding as he was in his prime. In those few seasons where we were fantastic, he was fantastic. There was games that he was single-handedly getting us points, and I think it's tough for any goalkeeper to be captain, but I think he did a job. I think he did a very good job. I think, as I say, it's from my perspective, it's sad how it's panned out. He's not got the sort of the sign off that I think he deserved. He's rotten away there now, really. But I think in terms of goalkeepers, whenever I think of Spurs goalkeepers, I think of Casey Keller and Aurelio Gomez and all these keepers that weren't things. Cudicini did a job, but I think in terms of like actual goalkeepers that I can think of that we've had that I've been able to watch, Lloris is without a doubt up there and fantastic, and he was a pivotal part of that team that was brilliant under Poch. Although that is a swear word, so I'll pretend I didn't say that name here.
That's fine. That is fine. Dad is in number 9 for you.
My number 9 is a forward. He liked to flick a trick, and he had a lot about him. And it's going to be Steve Archibald, Scottish guy, unbelievable player. Didn't do a lot of running. Graf Cooks had to do all his running. Graf Cooks, used to come off on crutches sometimes because he'd done so much running. St John's ambulance got a stretcher for him because he'd done so much running, Archibald. But he was just an unbelievable sort of forward, bit of an attitude, so I've heard. But everyone that played with him said what a player he is. They just love him as a player. But he could score all different goals, little tap-ins, chips, headers. But he was just sort of, one of them maverick sort of players. But the song for him we had sums him up. We'll take more care of you, Archibald, Archibald. See, we get a song off mine. So yeah, I loved him. I loved him. He was just one of them players that the game goes on for 90 minutes. Well, not nowadays, but it goes on for 90 minutes. But he would play about 10, but he would just walk off as clean as he come on. But he scored a couple of great goals or a good goal, either to get us back in the game or to win it. So he just had that about him. And like I said earlier, I love those sort of players. So he's my number 9.
Nice. Coming in at number 9 for me, this particular player actually had 2 spells with Tottenham. I wasn't born, or I was still in nappies for his first spell where he formed a formidable partnership with a certain German. But it was more the second spell for me where I just thought this guy just oozed class. And to be fair, whenever I've seen him since, he looks like he can still play now, even though he's probably into his 50s. And that is Teddy Sheringham. What a player. This guy was, just oozed class. And yeah, I think I want to say sort of him from an English perspective, never really had a player like that. So I don't think we really knew how to use him in terms of almost being a number 10. I think he would have been perfect in the sort of game where, especially when a lot of teams sort of went to that 4-2-3-1 playing with a lot of number 10s, I think he would have been perfect. The spaces he would pick up, the elegance in which he played, the sort of the passes that he would feed through for someone, a strike partner, whether that was Selez or Jurgen Klinsmann, I can imagine, in like I say, in that first stint. But yeah, Teddy Sheringham for me, it was just a case of I didn't realise that you could be that slow, but also that good at the same time, and just having that footballing brain for me was the big one. So yeah, Sheringham is in for me at number 9, and I'm going to go to my number 8 now. It's a player that's already been mentioned, Mr. Keane. Yeah, because I think to be fair, his partnership with Sheringham was wicked as well. I think they dovetailed each other really, really well. Like when one was dropping short, the other was going long. And yeah, just loved watching Robbie. He just gave everything for the shirt. The only downside was he didn't really score enough goals for the ability that he had, but he was a scorer of good goals. And I think obviously that one in the 4-4 against Chelsea, we all remember the one that comes off the back of Ricardo Carvalho. But yeah, I think Robbie's definitely got to be in there within my top 10, and a player again that I just loved watching. Didn't really want the spectacular finishes. It was those sort of 6-yard sort of tap-ins and stuff like that. But again, just gave everything for the shirt. So yeah, got to go with Robbie, I think.
Yeah.
Dad, who's in for number 8 for you?
Number 8, and he wore this number. This boy, he come over with his mate after the World Cup with Ricky Villa and Ozzy Ardiles, number 8. And I always remember seeing Ardiles, and he was very slight, and I'm thinking, he's going to get kicked all over the shop. He'd be in hospital by the 4th game. But you know what? He was such a good player. Rode a tackle, took people on. And you're just looking at him thinking, well, how does he do that? He's just so slight. I mean, in them days, you could tackle from behind, sideways, front. You'd even get away with a punch every now and then if the referee weren't looking. And he was such a classy player and very clever. Very, very clever. This for him was unbelievable player. I think it was 750,000. We got 2 World Cup winners to grace White Hart Lane. I got you know what, from Tricky Ricky's goal at the FA Cup, bang, I've got to give him a mention. No, but Ozzy just gets in before him just slightly because his size and the bits he could do. Like I say, I like these little players that give it and get, I think he even went in goal once. I may be wrong on that, but I'm sure he, and he scored a wonderful goal when we was down to 10 men at Old Trafford to get us into the next round of the FA Cup. Top bins, little chip top bins, and I've loved him ever since. We see him, don't we, sometimes?
Yes.
And he likes a red wine. That's all I'm going to say on that.
He's earned it. He can have as much red wine as he wants.
Yeah, I'll even buy it.
I think you've tried a few times.
Yeah.
Right, Connor, number 8. Who is it?
Oh, you're not going to like this, Wes. It's your boy, the GOAT, Moussa Dembele.
I'll take it. Listen, the fact is in your top 10, I'll take it.
Yeah, for me, I can't think of any midfielder in the time that I've watched Spurs that has been able to do everything and completely dictate a game. He'll pick it up outside the 6-yard box and he'll be able to just see off players like there's no tomorrow. And it's a sad one because he's a sort of player. I think even Poch said it. He's a sort of player where if you had him a couple of years earlier, the levels would have been even more. He was just fantastic. And for me, in that season when we made that Champions League final, the reason we don't win that Champions League final, yes, okay, Lucas Moura didn't start. Yes, okay, Harry Kane started. That's a whole different debate. Moussa Dembele left in that January, and we were left so short. And even if we had, and he can only cut that season 45 minutes a game, but wow, if we had Moussa Dembele for 45 minutes in the Champions League final, I tell you, it would have been a different game. He was unreal. Yeah. And I know why you call him the GOAT, because he is in many ways the GOAT. So he is very worthy of being in this list. And if we didn't have so many good players over the years, then he would be a lot higher. Honestly.
Perfect. And actually, I saw something with Kieran Trippier, I think it was on the Saturday Social, where a question was asked to him about greatest of all time, and he put Moussa Dembele and has openly come out and said if we didn't sell him, we would have won the Champions League final. So that kind of says it all. Connor, sticking with you then for number 7.
Okay, this is one of my favourite ever all-time Spurs players, and I wish I could have put him higher, but I'm doing this on ability and effect at the club. And I actually look at that, and I definitely should have put him higher thinking about this, but I've gone with Jermaine Defoe, who I absolutely love this man. He epitomises everything I love about Tottenham. And I say this about I've said it about Kane, I've said it about whether, but for me, my first ever Spurs shirt had Defoe on the back. I loved him so much, and I was gutted when he left and was buzzing when he came back, and he was still brilliant. And I remember when he was at when he went to Rangers, I remember still sitting there because there were a couple of rumours coming about him coming out the Spurs. I was like, I would have that like in an instant. Like I loved Jermaine Defoe. He was fantastic. He was the first striker I think, and he's such a lovely guy. No, I love him, and yeah, I wish I'd put him higher thinking about it, but yeah, what a man.
Perfect.
Good choice. Yeah, I liked him.
Dad, who makes the cut for you? Number 7.
Number 7, another slight midfield player who could receive the ball. I think he could receive it in the shower and still come out dry and with the ball. Is Luka Modric. Absolutely loved him. 3 players around him, fizz the ball into him. He comes out the other side, have a cigar, brandy in one hand, and just carries the ball up field for you. Yeah, special player. And I can still see that goal against Liverpool where he's gone it and it's gone like that, and it's just like you think, yeah, this guy. And
the one against Bolton as well. I always think about that one.
Yeah. And I mean, he went to Madrid. It didn't. I think it was the first season they were saying he was the worst ever signing, and then now he's probably one of the best signings ever. And I think that sums that boy up really. Like I said, he was slight, but there was no. He could take a tackle. He just got up and played it, didn't he? He just got the ball down, never moaned. And as Uncle Harry used to say, don't even know he's there at training. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. So he was a good player. And me and you spoke about this when we're in the car going up to games or on the train. We never really see the best of him at White Hart Lane, which is a shame. Which is a real shame. But I'm going to put him in at number 7. Yeah, definitely. Great player. Fantastic player.
Love it. Absolutely love it. This number 7 for me is somebody who's probably renowned for having arguably the best first touch the Premier League's ever seen. And I'm going to jog people's memories and flash back. It's a sort of late April, early May, I want to say, away day at at the Valley. And Ledley clips a ball off his swinger, and you just see the most outrageous first touch that you have ever seen in your life.
Yeah.
Then he tries to go on a little wander and just slot it in the corner, and then puts his hand up in the air as if to say, I've just had a walk in the park. It is Mr. Dimitar Berbatov in at number 7. I have to say, was not a fan of the way he left the football club. No. But my word, what a footballer. Like I say, arguably one of the best first touches the Premier League has ever seen. And obviously there was that time at Fulham where he had the message under his T-shirt of keep calm and pass me the ball. So that just says it all. But yeah, I think Berber was just, it was just so cool. And definitely
he was cool. Yeah, that was just he was just cool. Like,
it was frightening. And obviously, I think if anybody cast their minds back as well to the Carling Cup final in 2008, ice cold veins for that penalty. Berber had to make it in the top 10, and he slid in at number 7. Dad, we're going to move on to number 6. So who have you gone for?
It's got to be the man, isn't it? Ledley King. We've been to an evening with him. A humble guy. And just sort of led by example, nothing. And that evening, we all, we love him. As Spurs fans, we love him. But that evening, it just showed me what just a humble guy he was. He would answer every question. He even helped some, not me, by the way, but he helped some more mature people in through the door with their walkers and stuff like that. And he's just, he's just such a lovely guy. But I'm just glad he played for my team. Right? And I can sort of relate to him playing for my team, if that makes sense. Like a London boy, he's come through. We all love one that comes through and be as good as that. Unbelievable. Imagine if that knee was a proper knee he had. Can you imagine how good that boy was? And it goes to show how good he was. In the World Cup, when we had the Italian Capello, he trusted him more than he did John Terry and Ria, because he was the first one in. But I think Ledley said on that evening, didn't he? He said, look, I can only play one game. It's because they come thick and fast, and he put him in. And that, he's such a lovely guy, and what a player. Led by example. They didn't go around screaming and shouting. Just led by example. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the first player I've picked that actually played in HD. So yeah,
between him and Luca.
So him and Luca. What's HD about? What was about? Was it?
Yeah, that's right. That's
take him out.
That's a scary thought, by the way.
Yeah,
anyway, number 6 for me is probably the best finisher that I have ever seen, and the most naturally born centre forward that I have ever seen, and that is Jermaine Defoe. I absolutely love Jermaine Defoe. So yeah, Jermaine Defoe has to get in there. I'm a bit annoyed actually that he's only in at number 6, because I'd love to get him in higher, but I don't think I can. So yeah, I just think he was just unbelievable. The way he would strike a ball as well, very little backlift, and I think it was sort of around the time as well where I had a bit of a stint playing up top, and obviously I'm not the biggest. So it kind of gave me a little bit of hope, and he was a reference point for me as well. And actually, within my coaching that I do now, I still reference him to this day in terms of that just killer instinct in front of goal. I've never really seen anything like it. People will argue Harry Kane with regards to that, but I think we don't get a Harry Kane without a Jermaine Defoe, first of all. So, Jermaine Defoe for me in at number 6. Connor, who's in at number 6 for you?
That's a great point what you said about Defoe, though, by the way, because I think Kane didn't Kane have Defoe's number?
Yes.
And he spoke about him and the effect that he had on him. So that is spot on about that. And I look at that, and the more I think about it, I definitely wish I put Defoe a lot higher. Number 6 is, I've questioned myself for doing this, but I've put Van der Vaart at number 6, Rafael Van der Vaart, because for me, that signing was like the first signing for me that said, wow, we are actually, I know, we are a big club, but that was that signing where I was like, we pulled this off. I don't know how we pulled this off. This is a Real Madrid player has come to Tottenham. You know what I mean? It was just like, and his effect in that short period of time, that Champions League run, he was so pivotal in that. And I think he is still, his effect, sides on with the whole Mickey van der Ven, Mickey van der Ven, that's the Van der Vaart song. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that. Yeah, he was brilliant, and he was so pivotal in that. And that, like I say, that spoke to me and said that's the sort of players that we can go and get. And yeah, I'm not sure I like him so much post-career, but as a player, what a player, honestly. Lucky to have him.
Definitely. Dad, can you kick us off with your number 5?
Number 5, I'm going to go with Bale.
Gareth Bale.
At the time when he played, I think he pulled us out of games and won us games more than any other player I can think of. I can remember the one at West Ham, the half and half shirts at West Brom. I could go on and on and on. Some of the goals he scored, the Stoke one where the ball is behind and he's gone bang. Some very, very special goals. And I think he's proved over his career that he's a very special player as well. He ripped it up in Madrid, as far as I'm concerned. So, it's another one. It's a shame we didn't see that at Tottenham. That's the sad thing, really. We keep having these players that are very special and we don't sort of add to it. But, fair play to him, I think. Could go on about Bale, couldn't we? We could have...
We could talk here for 5 hours ago.
Yeah. So yeah, that's who I'm going for, Bale. Loved him.
Fair enough. Connor, number 5 for you.
Number 5 it was between 2 players who were pivotal in some of my favourite years at Tottenham. And I chose the one who was there longer because I think he had the long-lasting effect. I've gone with Jan Vertonghen. It was between Jan and Toby, but I've gone with Jan for the reason that Jan, I felt, was more of a leader, and he was so pivotal in the start of that Poch era and the end of it. And it was like I think although him and Toby weren't good enough anymore, when they were up there, we were breaking our records for goals conceded in those seasons. We were such a strong defensive unit, and whenever I think about defenders that we've got now and how lovely and beautiful it was to see Romero and Van der Ven for this short period in the season, I dream about Toby and Jan. I dream about it. It was so beautiful, and that was being a defender is not pretty. It's not, people don't, when they look at footballers, they don't talk about defenders. It's always attackers. But no, like, he was so pivotal in that strong defense. So 100%, Jan Vertonghen.
And that's why you've got his shirt hanging up behind you, Connor.
That's why I've got his shirt hanging up behind me.
Exactly. Number 5 for me is arguably one of the best looking footballers that we've had. He was definitely worth it. I think we had loads of female fans off the back of this one particular person. And not only that, he was the entrance fee. It's David Ginola.
Oh, yeah.
So honestly, like I say, the entrance fee, but what an entrance fee it would have been. I mean, granted, he wasn't in the best Tottenham teams, but he was literally the only player that you'd go, at least I get to see him today. So yeah, I think Ginola for me was just unbelievable. Can go both ways. I think he would actually be perfect in the modern game now in terms of a winger that can go both ways, both footed. You don't even know which strong foot it is for him. And yeah, I think every Spurs fan at the time was absolutely heartbroken. Not only when George Graham came in, because we all knew it was going to be the end of probably David Ginola, but when he left, and I've never known anything like it for when a player left to get so much uproar. And bearing in mind, that was at the time where Twitter and Facebook groups and things like that weren't a thing. And there was so much uproar because it was like, well, who have we got to watch? Like, what's the point? I might as well give up and go home now. So, yeah, David Ginola makes it in for me at number 5.
Someone in our household wasn't happy when David left, was he?
Yeah,
was she?
Yeah. The adverts started to change pretty quickly.
Mrs. McGrath wasn't happy. She wasn't happy, Bunny.
Put it that way. And number 4 for me is one of our favourite Dutchmen, Rafa van der Vaart. Listen, the boy got it, didn't he? Yeah. He just got it. He got us, we got him, and yeah, I'm a bit like you, Connor. I couldn't believe we actually bought him, and for the price that we got him as well, it was just like, what? Not only have we signed a player from Real Madrid, we've signed the Dutch international, and it was under £10 million, and we're like, how on earth has this happened? If Rafa had an inch, and I mean an inch of pace, he would have been absolutely world class. But yeah, I just loved him. The passion, everything else. Like, he wanted to almost make me become that number 10 type of player as well. And yeah, just what a player, and yeah, just absolutely loved watching him play. So yeah, he was just brilliant, like I say, and he got the football club, and the football club got him 100%. Dad, number 4 for you. Who are you going for?
Number 4. I'm going for another defender.
Well,
I don't know what's the matter with you. I must have.
You hate defenders. What's
I know, but I'm going for a guy, Mike England. He was big, quick, not Van der Ven quick, but he's quick. He could head the ball. You name it, this boy could do it. He used to come off. The white shirt used to have mud all over it. A lot of times it had blood on it as well. But he could play as well. You know, he could get it down and he could shift balls out. And he was a big lad. He was a big lad. Welsh international. He was that big, it'd take you a week to drive around him. I'm telling you. But when he used to come out of that tunnel, you're watching him. And you're thinking, I'm glad I'm not a centre forward today. Because he was just, he was a big lad. And then at the end of the season, you used to get all the great players like Beckenbauer, Pele, all these guys. And he would be in their World 11. But not just once, he'd be in there every year. Every year this boy would be in there. And I just, when he come out of that tunnel, sometimes you could be able to walk around that ground then and stand by that tunnel. When he come out, I used to run away. He was that big. He was huge guy, but a proper And he done well as a manager as well of Wales, considering the pool they got to pick from. You know, he always used to get them close and stuff. But he was a good player, real good player. And I liked him. He had a bit of character about him as well. Like I say, there'd be a bit of claret on his shirt at the end of the game, on the cuff or down here or somewhere. And another old player that I spoke to told me he hated Peter Osgood, and they had to be separated in the tunnel, half time, full time, and blah blah blah. But anyone who bashes a Chelsea player, he's all right with me. He's got to be in my top 5, isn't he? So yeah, that's great. I loved him. Great, good player, real good player.
Perfect. Connor, number 4. Who's made the cut?
Sonny.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a tough one because it's always difficult doing these with a player who's still at the club. But I think with the overlasting effect that Sonny has had on this team in terms of, when he started, I think there was a lot of skepticism about him when he arrived, but he's just like, he embodies Tottenham Hotspur, like in terms of like how much the fans love him, the fact that he's captain now, and we're happy that he's captain because, usually that sort of player would not be captain of your football club, but he is because he loves the club, he bleeds Tottenham, and I love him. If you find a Spurs fan that doesn't like Sonny, then they're not a Spurs fan. Like you love him. Like I'd love to put him higher. I'd love to wait until he retires to put him higher, but I think he's already had such a long-lasting effect on this team, and the sort of player that we sit there and we go, he's actually still a Tottenham player. Like he's not left. He committed to us when there was all this possibility of us leaving, and that for me speaks so much volume about how much he loves Tottenham and how much we love him. So
love that. Connor, we're going to stick with you. Who's got the bronze medal?
He's only got one knee. It's Ledley. I'm giving it to Ledley. And I feel like because Ledley's effect at Tottenham. Okay, we're talking about a player here. We were saying earlier, that he did not play the most games, but he was that good that you'd have him and he would just make a difference, and you'd be so upset you haven't got him for the next game because of his dodgy knee. Like he's, the fact that he's still at the club as an ambassador, the fact that we still sing about him, the fact that when we talk about really good defenders, when players who have retired talk about really good defenders, they mention Ledley King, who played this minuscule amount of games. He is Mr. Tottenham in my well, arguably, maybe my number 1 is Mr. Tottenham, but that's a different debate in itself. But no, he's Mr. Tottenham. He's Mr. Tottenham, 100%.
Dad, 3rd place, bronze medal.
3rd place for me. I believe that this boy was embodied in me what it was like to be a captain, and that's Steve Perryman. He played left back, right back, midfield, and he just gave you everything, but every game. The boy, honestly, he liked to tackle. He could pass it. He could score goals. He was just sort of coming into that modern day sort of player that could play different areas. But he just stood. To me, he's one of them players that were proud to put on our shirt. And you looked at him and thought, if I ever got the chance to play with Tottenham, it's that attitude and commitment that I would give to the thing. And he just oozed a bit of class. When he was young, he had the modern day of that time, the haircut. So a lot of the fashion boys, look, Steve Perryman. And he's another very, very humble guy. He does a lot for charities around all the Spurs things. He's always doing these talks. But he was a player, mate, I'm telling you. He was a proper captain. He wouldn't be shy in pulling the best player or pointing to the best player and saying, pull your finger out, or words to that effect, and get him playing. And he wouldn't be shy. He wouldn't be shy in coming forward, put it that way. And he to me, was what a captain is supposed to be. And he's great player. Loved him.
Nice. Number 3 for me is our favourite Croatian. No, not Vedran Korluka, not Niko Kranjčar, not Stipe Pletikosa, not Ivan Postman Perisic. It is, of course, the only Croatian, I believe, of modern times anyway, to win the Ballon d'Or, and that is Luka Modric. Honestly, I think Luka was he gave me hope as a player that I could play centre mid one day, because he was small, he was slight, but you couldn't get the ball off him. And it was like, you go to press him, he's popped it around the corner. You give him space, he's got the eye for a pass where he could split a defence. And as we said earlier, you know, multiple players around him, he'd find a way out. I'm pretty sure he could find a way out of a crowded phone box. Do you know what I mean? Like, it was just unbelievable as a player, and it was really, really difficult to see him leave, because I think not only him, but him and Van der Vaart leaving in the same transfer window was tough. Yeah, effectively two fan favourites going at the same time, and then you're looking at, right, what direction is the club going in, and things like that. But for the time that we had him, and I know I've said this before about him, that we perhaps didn't really see the best of him in a Spurs shirt, and we didn't get him at his prime. Obviously, I think Modric is extending his prime by about 15 years, to be fair to him. You know, but then you look at what he's done since as well. Obviously, the longevity, what he's doing at Real Madrid now at the ripe old age, 38? Frightening. But honestly, like, he's just unbelievable as a player, and a player that I loved going to watch as well. So yeah, Luka gets my bronze medal. Dad, who's got the silver for you?
Oh, this boy. I'll tell you what, he was like a stick. He come out like a stick. He had one of the best afros I've ever seen on a white guy.
Better than Fellaini?
Oh, big bad love. Of course he was. Yeah, and I was at a game, and it was unusual because my dad took me, and he didn't like football. Boxing was his sport, but for some reason, he got these tickets. It was a miserable grey sort of afternoon in London, fine rain, and we're there, and this guy come out, and he just, you know, he demanded the ball off the goalkeeper. He would run the length of the field. Sometimes he'd get it tackled or whatever. He just got up and got on again. But this game against the mighty Leeds, we needed to win to stay up, and he got it off of Pat Jennings. What a keeper he was. And he's run the length of the field. He scored 2 goals that game. And he's gone into the corner flag and sat on the ball. That was the moment I thought, Alfie Con, you're due for me, mate. You are. He was just one of them players. You know what, these players that Spurs fans sort of grab hold of. They get on their back. You know, this is my boy. We love him. And he just had this something about him. He had so many injuries, bless him, that we didn't really see this guy sort of develop into the player that we all thought he was going to be. And then he went back to Scotland. But yeah, I tried that sitting on the ball when I first got into men's football. I think my ear's still ringing, and I had a lovely shiner the next day as well. But yeah, Alfie Con was a player that sort of gets your imagination as a young boy. You know, you want to go and play, you want to take people on, you want to do nutmegs, you want to flick it over their heads and stuff like that. Yeah, Alfie Con is he was my first footballing hero, even though he's only second on my list. He's my first footballing hero, and he was the one that I thought, right, I want to play like that. I wish I could play like as good as him, but you know, it was never to be. But yeah, he was my first footballing hero, Alfie Con. Get some old pictures up and have a look at that Barnet. I'm telling you, he should be in the Jackson 5 or something. You know what I mean? Brilliant. Yeah, without a doubt.
Brilliant. Number 2 on my list is my Tottenham idol, the person that I wanted to be growing up, the person who, for some people, I still get called. Actually, not as much as I used to, but that's Aaron Lennon. Yeah, I just wanted to be Aaron Lennon growing up. I was a winger, played on the right. Lennon played on the right. He played for Spurs. I'm a Spurs fan. Mixed race, all of that kind of stuff. I even had to try at one point. You know, I had to have my hair. Obviously, I had the tram lines. I had to get that. I had to have food. I even tried to adapt my running style when I had the ball, so it was like Aaron Lennon. And yeah, he wasn't the greatest player that I've seen, but he was just the person that I wanted to be. You know, and yeah, like I say, he was my idol growing up. So, you know, for me, you know, when I'm seeing that he's having his, you know, his struggles with his mental health and stuff like that, that really hit home, because I'm like, that's my idol, and he's going through a tough time, you know. And it's at that point you just want to be like, I just want to meet you and give you a massive hug. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, and obviously my nickname growing up was Aaron Lennon. Some people tried to liken me to Mr. Walcott, but we weren't having it. We stuck with Lennon. So yeah, he's second on my list, because, like I say, he was my idol. So I'd feel a bit wrong for not having him in the list somewhere. But yeah, number 2. And I just think actually what he gave Tottenham was a lot of good years of good service. And I was listening to a podcast with Danny Rose, and he said he was actually really, really important for a lot of young lads or new lads coming into the dressing room. I think obviously with the Leeds connection, they both, you know, Aaron sort of looked after Danny Rose a little bit as well, and I think Danny Rose was always grateful for that. But I think Lennon was also that character, I believe, in the dressing room that, you know, was kind of the first one to organise the Christmas party and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, and I think actually probably under Harry, but even a bit before then, I'd say under Ramos, I think he was unbelievable. I genuinely think he was up there with probably one of England's best wingers at the time. He was absolutely flying. And I'd love to see a 100-metre sprint between him and Carl Walker to see who's quickest as well. So yeah, number 2, silver medal for me is Aaron Lennon. Connor, who's got the silver medal for you, big man?
That was a tough one for me to leave out, Lennon, because Lennon is one of my all-time favourite players as well. Like I literally, post-career, even just watching him, like he's posting all these interviews. I love him. He is like, yeah. And the goal versus Chelsea is like, there's some goals that stick with you, and that winner versus Chelsea, like little games like that, you just always remember. And like that is, I love him. I've got a list of players that I didn't include that I love, but that's a thing for another time. So number 2, he was born to play for Spurs. Gareth Bale. Right. So for me, Bale was the sort of player who gets you off your seat. Okay, like, and that period at Spurs where we weren't massively great under AVB. When you talk about players carrying your club, he carried us. Like game by game, he was carrying us. You know, like the game would be, you know, you'd expect to get nothing from the game, and he'd come out of nowhere and score a worldie against West Ham, score a worldie against Southampton. You know, it was happening every other week. It was just this guy, like, and massive credit goes to Redknapp and giving him the freedom to be that player. But wow, honestly, like even the Chelsea game the other day when he was there, I was in the crowd. My eyes were so fixated on that TV with him talking, because he has that effect. Like I was so gutted when he retired, and I was so gutted when he came back and we couldn't watch him in the stadium. Like honestly, like he is, yeah, honestly, what a player, what a man, and I'm, you know what, and knowing him, he's going to go and be a world-class golf player the rate that he's going at as well. He's just talent, you know what I mean? So I know, and the fact that he even said that we were the best club he played for, that warms me even more. No, I love him. He was born to play for Spurs, and we were born to love him.
Love it. Connor, I'm going to stick with you for the gold medal, the GOAT in terms of your Spurs players, the greatest Spurs player of all time for you. Who has got it?
I feel like this is very predictable. If people know me, this is my boy. This is the one that pains me. It pains me that he is no longer at Tottenham Hotspur, but he is still a current player. It is Mr. Harry Kane, who came through the system, who is, when I said Mr. Tottenham earlier about Ledley King, Kane is Mr. Tottenham. He is like, and again, when I said about Bale carrying us, Kane carried us through these years. We've got defensive managers, and this guy's going and getting 30 Premier League goals in a season. Do you know what I mean? Like he was like, and just a great human being. Like he is the sort of man that will retire and help people in their lives. And like, he's got everything. He's got everything about his game. He's not just scoring. You know, we had no Maddison or no Ericsson or anything like that. So what was he doing the past couple of years? He was dropping deep and creating those chances for other players because he's that good. He's playing more than 2 free rolls on the pitch. I love him, and he's going to go and get 50 goals for Bayern Munich this season. I can tell you right now. I love him, and he is, for me, the best player I have seen, the best player I can think of when I think of Tottenham, and him being our record top goal scorer of all time answers that in my eyes.
Fair enough, can't argue that. Dad, who is your greatest of all time when it comes to Spurs players?
My greatest of all time is born as the king of White Hart Lane, Glenn Hoddle. What a player this boy was. Come through. Everything I like about players, he had. He had the flick, the trip, the 50-yard free kick. Do you know what I mean? He just had everything, this boy. Volleys. He could play outside the boot, inside the boot. For me, he could do everything. And the reason why I really, love him, as you know, I do love this man. I won't say I was as good as him, but I was that sort of player. And I was getting stick every team I played for. I was getting stick. I can't tackle, I can't head, blah, 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 blah. When I was going to give football up, I was thinking, I can't be bothered. Every week I'm getting here, getting taken off. And then he come along. And I'm watching him and I'm going, well, I play like that. Well, not as good, but when you see someone who's got that sort of, and he just like, he was just everything in a player that I love. And he means a lot to me as well. And then last year or year before, we went to an evening with Glenn Hoddle. And Wesley said to me, go and have a photo with him. And I was shaking. As I was walking up there, I was absolutely shaking. I got near the stage and I could feel the sweat coming down here. And I got up to him and he just started talking to me. And I was all over the place. I was all over the place. My throat was dry. I even turned around and nicked someone's drink and had a little mouthful. And then, and I just started talking to him. And then he was great. And he was just a certain... If there was a Tottenham player, it was Glenn Hoddle. Because we love those sort of players, Some of our players, or players like him, go elsewhere and he can't do this, he can't do that. People can't see what he actually does. Now with all this analysis, it's a lot better. But he to me he typified that era of going forward. And I just love the man. I don't know why he's not knighted. He ain't got an OBE, CVE anymore.
Don't know.
IPA. He's got so. Yeah, we'll have one of them. And I loved him. Absolutely loved him, and still do.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. And it'll be no great surprise for anybody that knows me to know who's getting my gold medal. It is the greatest of all time, the player's player, the person that you would want in your five-a-side team, as everybody has mentioned. For me, it has to be Moussa Dembele. I do not realise you could be that good at football until then I saw Messi, and then it was like, right, okay, that's another level in itself. But honestly, like, to just think that you could be so strong, but then have ballerina feet at the same time to, glide past players like they're not even there, but then still smash somebody 6 foot up in the air. I just think he was just an unbelievable footballer. And just the way he sometimes would even invite pressure onto himself just to then, because I think he was a bit bored. So he was like, I haven't thrown anybody off the ball for a little while. So, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to invite a bit of pressure and then just use my arms to get across players and just go past them like they weren't even there. Like, I think we went to a bit of a drubbing, actually, where we lost 5-1 at home to Man City, and he's just glided past Yaya Toure, and this was peak Yaya Toure. Like, Yaya Toure tore up the league that year, and Dembele's just gone past him like he wasn't even there. And I think everybody that's played with him says he's the best that they've played with. People that have played against him have said he's probably their toughest opponent. I think the crowning glory for me was the North London derby at Wembley, where Kane scored the winner, because I think in Arsenal's midfield it was Xhaka, Ozil and Wilshere, and Dembele just had all three of them like on his own. That's not to say that the other players weren't putting a shift in, but it was just like, wow, okay, yeah, this guy's just outrageous. And yeah, I absolutely love Moussa Dembele, as everybody knows, to absolute pieces. So he is deserving of my gold medal, of course, and for me, greatest to ever do it in a Spurs shirt, because he could do everything. Right, before we go, we've got a little bit of admin to do. Connor, it's been great having you on. Great to catch up as well, because it has been a while. Tell everybody where they can find you doing your thing.
Oof. Well, thanks for having me. Always a pleasure, and it's great to catch up. You can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter with the name CT's Vuklavanya. Very passionate about not just Spurs, football as well. I'm also guilty of a couple of awful parodies that you will cringe while you watch them, but you might also want to sing them in the stadium. No, you won't. No one sings them in the stadium. And no one ever will. But yeah, so you can find me, CT's Vuklavanya. And yeah, you know, usually a lot of ranting, but not a lot of ranting these days because there's a lot to be happy about. So yeah.
Excellent. And Dad, not going to ask you where people can find you doing your thing, because social media is definitely not your bag.
I'm on the Facebook.
Okay.
You can find me on the Facebook. And the orange one, what's it called? This one.
What, Instagram?
Oh,
brilliant.
Mr. Paintbrush, number 10, after Glenn Holder's number, obviously. So you can find me on there. Be nice to hear from you, Connor.
Brilliant. And of course, my Twitter is at Wezo10, the unofficial Moussa Dembele fan account, because I mean, I don't even know if there's an official one, but I'm definitely not it at this point.
You're nearly the official one. If there was ever going to be an official one, it's you.
But yeah, I'm still the unofficial one. I don't want to claim the title of the official one, so I'm going to say the unofficial one. So yeah, and Instagram is at Wezo32. Usually see me at a Spurs game, accompanied by my dad, of course, as well. And then obviously running my own football coaching business, helping young boys and girls develop their footballing skills. And that is Kickoff Football Academy, or at Kofa MK, across all your social media platforms. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and follow Hollie as well, at Hollie Agumbar. Hollie, there's your plug, by the way.
Plug, Hollie.
Before you ask, there's your plug. All right, so it's been great to have everybody on. The chat has been absolutely popping as well. Apologies we didn't get through everybody's comments, but thank you ever so much for getting involved. And until next time, come on, you Spurs!